Hey everyone, welcome back. So today we are doing something a little different. We're not going to be looking at research papers or news articles this time, just one single source, an excerpt from a fictional story.
Not all is lost.
Now I know you might be thinking, fiction,
Hmm.
but stick with me. This story really gets into some stuff about loss and hope and starting over. You know those fresh starts that we're always kind of looking for?
It's really interesting how fiction can be so powerful. Even though it's made up characters and plots, it can still feel so real. Like we see ourselves in the story, even if it's not our exact story.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm.
In this story, we meet Jack. And this guy is at rock bottom, lost his business, relationships are a mess. He's just wandering on the beach, totally hopeless.
Yeah, that feeling of just being overwhelmed, like everything's been pulled out from under you. It's something we all experience at some point, unfortunately. But that's also what makes Jack's transformation so powerful. It gives us hope. Like maybe we can make it back from those dark places too.
Totally. So Jack's on this pier, just looking for a little peace and quiet. And then he sees this sign. It says, "Not all is lost," if you're reading this. Simple, but pretty profound, right? It's like a lifeline, right when he needs it most. But why does a sign like that have such an impact? I mean, it's just some words on wood.
It's all about timing.
Yep.
Jack is at his absolute lowest point, about to give up completely. And then he sees the sign. It stops him from going any lower, makes him pause. Plus, there's that direct connection with the reader if you're reading this. It's like the universe is talking right to him, acknowledging him, at a time when he probably feels invisible.
Wow, I never thought of it like that, like a personal message just for him. And you know what? It even makes him pray, something he hasn't done in a long time. He lets it all out, all the pain, and he asks for guidance. Pretty amazing that a simple sign could have such a big effect.
That's the power of surrender. Jack's been trying so hard to control everything, but his life's just falling apart. That prayer, that's him finally letting go, opening himself up to something bigger. It's a good reminder that we're never really alone. There's always something there to help us, especially when we're struggling.
So this is where things start to get really interesting. After that prayer, Jack feels this wave of peace. It's not like a miracle cure or anything, more like a subtle shift, like finally seeing a little bit of light after being stuck in the dark for so long.
The beginning of healing, just a glimmer of light. But it's enough to give him the strength to take the next step. And it's interesting, he keeps coming back to that pier, to that sign, like he's getting energy from those words, like it's his anchor in the storm.
And then he meets this older man on the pier. His name's Sam. Sam tells him about his own experiences, about loss and rebuilding his life. I really like what Sam says. He says, sometimes life breaks us down so we can be rebuilt into something we never imagined. You know, like those kintsugi bowls, where they repair broken pottery with gold, and they make those cracks part of the beauty.
I like that analogy. Sam isn't pretending that loss isn't painful, but he's looking at it distantly. He's not seeing setbacks as the end, more like opportunities, chances to change and grow. What if being broken isn't a bad thing? What if it's what we need to become stronger, more interesting?
And Jack starts to take action. Inspired by what Sam said, he starts reaching out to people he had pushed away, starts thinking about new business ideas. He even starts volunteering, focusing on helping other people. There's something really powerful about that, helping others when you're going through something yourself.
It is. It's like saying, okay, life knocked me down, but I'm still here and I'm still going to make a difference.
Exactly. It shows how resilient we can be.
Right. Even when we feel broken, we can still create, we can still connect with people, we can still contribute. Jack's story reminds us that sometimes helping others can actually help us heal.
Fast forward a few months, we see Jack back on that pier, but he's a different person now. He's gone through a transformation. He's grateful for what he's been through. He's actually thankful for the whole journey, even the painful parts.
That's the power of hope and perseverance. Trusting that even when you feel lost, you can still grow. You can find your way back. Maybe even discover something even better along the way.
It makes you think, what signs are we missing in our own lives? What simple everyday things might have a deeper meaning if we just paid attention?
That's the thing, being open to the possibility that we can find wisdom and guidance in the most unexpected places. Sometimes it's not a big revelation, it's a whisper, a nudge, a sign on a pier that says, not all is lost.
This deep dive has already given me so much to think about. But before we go too far, let's take a minute to think about what we've learned from Jack's story. What are the key takeaways here?
Well, first of all, we see how even something as simple as a sign can be a powerful symbol of hope if it comes at the right time. It's about recognizing those little glimmers of light and letting them guide us. Second, Jack's story shows us how important it is to surrender. letting go of the need to control everything, and just opening yourself up to something bigger. It can be the first step towards healing and real change.
Yeah, that really hit home for me. How often do we just cling to things, try to force them to work, when what we really need to do is let go?
Exactly. There's that saying, what you resist persists. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is to just surrender, go with the flow, even if it's scary, even if you don't know what's going to happen.
And then there's that idea of kintsugi, accepting the broken parts of yourself as part of your story.
Right. It's a good reminder that our struggles don't make us less worthy. In fact, sometimes it's through those challenges that we discover our real strengths.
Like we were saying before, Jack wouldn't have changed if he hadn't gone through all that pain, the loss, the heartbreak. It all pushed him to grow.
It's like a phoenix rising from the ashes. Speaking of change, Jack's story also shows us the power of taking action. He doesn't just sit around waiting for things to get better. He actually does something about it.
Yeah, he puts his energy into reconnecting with people, trying new things, helping others. He realizes that feeling sorry for himself isn't going to get him anywhere.
Right. It's about shifting your focus from why me to what can I do now? That can be really empowering.
It's like that Viktor Frankl quote, when we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves. That's Jack in a nutshell.
Totally. We always have a choice in how we respond to hard times. We can let them break us, or we can use them to become stronger. Jack chose to grow. He turned his pain into purpose.
And that brings us back to that question from before. What signs are we missing in our own lives? What opportunities are right in front of us that we're not seeing?
It's all about being open to those little nudges from the universe. Maybe it's a random encounter, a new idea, or just a sudden urge to do something different.
Maybe it's that quiet voice inside that's been telling you there's something more out there, but you haven't been listening.
It's about trusting your gut, even if it doesn't make sense. Sometimes the best things in life are the ones that take us outside our comfort zone.
Jack's story definitely proves that. He finds this simple sign on a pier, and that one little thing changes his entire life.
It just goes to show, you never know what small act of courage, what tiny choice might lead to something amazing.
It doesn't have to be a huge life-altering event either. Sometimes the biggest changes happen in those small, quiet moments.
Right, those tiny ripples that become waves. You know, as we're talking about Jack's story, I'm noticing how much it's like the classic hero's journey. He starts at his lowest point, facing his demons, and then he goes on this quest to find something more.
I see it. He even has a mentor in Sam, guiding him along the way. And just like a hero, he comes out of it stronger, with a new sense of purpose.
It's a timeless story. It shows us that we can overcome anything.
That's why this deep dive is so interesting. We're not just talking about a made-up story. We're talking about universal things that we can all relate to.
We're all on our own hero's journey, dealing with challenges, celebrating victories, trying to figure out what it all means.
This story definitely gives us a lot to think about. But before we wrap things up, I'm curious to hear your thoughts on how this fictional story connects to the listener's real life.
That's a good point. It's easy to get caught up in the story itself, but the real magic happens when we can see how it relates to our own lives.
So how can we help the listener make that connection? What are the key takeaways here?
Well, the first thing is, Jack's story reminds us that even when things seem really dark, there's always hope. It might be small, but it's there. And sometimes all it takes is a new perspective, a willingness to be open to something new. And that can rekindle hope.
So it's not about waiting for hope to show up. It's about looking for it, even in unexpected places.
Exactly. Remember how Jack kept going back to that pier, to that sign? He was choosing to focus on that message of hope, letting it give him strength. We can do that too. We can surround ourselves with things that lift us up, things that remind us of how strong we are.
Like building your own personal hope toolkit. Books, music, nature, anything that helps you feel that sense of possibility again.
And it's not just about things outside of you. It's about creating an environment of hope inside yourself, practicing gratitude, focusing on the good, even when things are hard, challenging those negative thoughts. That can drag you down.
It's about seeing the glass half full, even when it feels like it's empty.
Right. And remember, you don't have to do it alone. Jack had Sam, his mentor. We all need support. Friends, family, therapists, maybe even online communities. People who can encourage you, remind you of your worth.
Sometimes just having someone who will listen without judging you can make a huge difference.
Totally. And like we see in Jack's story, sometimes the best way to find hope is to focus on helping others.
He went from feeling lost and hopeless to starting a business, to help other people. It's like they say. The best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in the service of others.
Exactly. Our lives have meaning, even when it doesn't feel like it. And sometimes the best way to rediscover that meaning is to do something for someone else.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I think the big question is, what's our own sign on the pier? What's that message or that experience or that belief that can keep us grounded when we feel lost?
It's something to think about. And remember, your sign doesn't have to be something big or dramatic. It could be a quote or a song lyric, a memory, a value that's important to you. The important thing is that it means something to you, that it reminds you of who you are and what you're capable of.
I like that, finding those things that can guide us back to ourselves when we're feeling lost. So before we go, I want you to think about what your sign might be. What message would you leave on a pier for someone else to find? What would you want to inspire in them?
Keep searching, keep exploring, and never underestimate the power of a simple message to change a life, including your own soul.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time, keep that hope alive.